no, no, and no.
Hello, welcome to the Lab Maniacs. This is our set review for Theros Beyond Death. I am Cameron, and with me today is Lerker. And normally we have Danity. Unfortunately, they were not able to do it this time, so we're giving it a shot. This is our first set review together, so it might be a little bumpy. We got a lot of cards to talk about, though. Now, one thing with these set reviews is we want to talk about the lens that we're reviewing these cards in. So from a competitive EDH perspective, we are looking more at a legacy to a vintage level of cards. So we're looking to get cards that are very efficient mana-wise, that have big effects, and that you are able to play early and often. And in this case, this isn't going to be a giant 6/6 creature. It might be, but very rarely is it going to be a 7 mana 6/6. It's probably going to be like a 3 mana 6/6 that has some sort of upside to it. And with that in mind, let's talk about our first card. It is Eidolon of Obstruction. This is a 2 mana, 1 and a white, enchantment creature spirit with first strike. It says, loyalty abilities of planeswalkers your opponents control cost 1 more to activate, and it's a 2/1.
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing that I see on this is that it kind of just feels like it's another Thorn of Amethyst or Thalia, Guardian of Thraben effect that kind of only hits planeswalkers. The one-sided part is kind of nice. Mm-hmm. And the first strike's great on that kind of body in general, because it just makes it much more easy to be a swinger for kind of Hate Bears decks in general, things like Duravi and, Timna, where getting a little bit of value on swinging your creatures is always nice. The bigger thing is, though, we kind of don't really need to hate planeswalkers in this way in our format as often. I find that just having 3 opponents swing them down is generally good enough, but I can definitely see a world where planeswalkers keep getting stronger, and things like this are going to be a welcome, just a welcome fix to that.
I definitely agree. We do have Oko, which is almost unarguably the best planeswalker that's ever been printed. And if we see more planeswalkers in that vein at 2 and 3 mana, this will probably be an extremely valuable hate bear when it gets there. That being said, I have seen a lot of mid-range metas that have been creeping up with Consultation, and I've seen a lot more planeswalkers showing up in those metas as people try getting more and more constant value engines in play. So I can see this being kind of like a niche hate bear for very specific metas, but then in the future, as Wizards continues to print stronger and stronger planeswalkers, this would definitely start being more valuable at that time.
Yeah, I feel like at the moment, like, just running Thorn of Amethyst is probably a better bet to like hate on planeswalker-y decks. But, I could totally see that changing in the future.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on. We've got Helia Sun Crowned. He is a legendary enchantment creature god for 2 and a white. He's a 5/5. He's indestructible. He says, as long as your devotion to white is less than 5, Heliod isn't a creature. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. And he has 1 and a white. Another target creature gains lifelink until end of turn.
So yeah, the kind of obvious, or the first thing that most people thought of when they saw this card was Walking Ballista, or Triskelion. In general, anything with remove a +1/+1 to deal a damage, you give it lifelink, that's infinite. Which is, it's pretty interesting to see what would be or could be, I guess, a mono white deck that actually has a 2-card commander plus 1 card combo that's like sorta tutorable. Obviously, like you got Enlightened Tutor, you got Recruiter of the Guard.
Yep.
But it's still a little bit lackluster.
It definitely is. It's really interesting as a combo enabler. Having an A plus B is really big for white. Downside is it's like it's going off of gaining life, which in the end doesn't win you the game. So on his own, he doesn't provide card advantage. He doesn't provide a meaningful body unless you already have a board. So he's in a niche spot. I would like to see more things like this or more cards that he can combo with. And then he might actually be a reasonable commander in the future. In the 99, he's actually pretty decent as well, because if you look at any sort of like Esper deck, you've got a million ways of tutoring out artifacts in Esper. And then you've got also just your regular tutors. And now you also have an enchantment. So normally in Esper you have problems getting creatures, but Heliod's an enchantment. So you can use Enlightened Tutor on that as well. So you've got a lot of ways of getting it in an Esper shell. So it's a nice combo piece in that regard.
Yeah, no, and people have made Flash Hulk piles with it, but they, like many things, there are a lot of Flash Hulk piles, and at this point we've kind of figured out the few best ones that Heliod unfortunately does not fit into. But,
no, he does not. More to talk about that later. We have a lot to talk about regarding that.
Oh, yeah. But he's cool. I'm glad they're giving mono white things like this in general.
I agree. I would like to see more.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Omen of the Sea. It is 1 and a blue. It's an enchantment. It has flash. And it says when Omen of the Sea enters the battlefield, scry 2, then draw a card. And it has 2 and a blue, sacrifice Omen of the Sea, scry 2.
So yeah, it's a instant speed preordain for 1 extra mana.
Amazing.
Which is, it's great. I immediately think this is better than almost every single 2 mana cantrip in blue. I think obviously like Impulse is still just kind of better, sees more cards, but this sees the same number of cards as Anticipate, and then it has an upside where you can kind of get a random scry 2 later. Yep. Oh, and it's a combo piece for Brago. It's a win con for Brago, who just needs cards that have ETB draw a card on them.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to see play.
I think if you're doing any sort of Xerox shell, this definitely has a home. One of the few places where some of those other 2-card cantrips, the 2-cost cantrips, are going to see play over this is probably Baral. If you're still on Baral, those are still probably only going to cost 1 when he's in play, so this kind of has that downside. But the fact that it is essentially preordained for 1 more at instant speed, and then you get an extra scry 2 later as just tacked on value, I really like that. As just incremental advantage, this is amazing.
It's just a good card. I mean, we play preordain in almost everything that can run it. Mostly just because, we only have like 4 cantrips that actually are cost effective in our format. So we get 1 of Brainstorm and 1 of Ponder and 1 of Get Probe. But this is kind of another one that this is probably my favorite 2 mana cantrip after Impulse. It's pretty good.
I agree on that. Well, let's move on to, instead of the Omen of the Sea, let's talk about God of the Sea. Thassa, Deep Dwelling. She is 3 and a blue. She's a legendary enchantment creature, god. She's a 6/5, but as long as your devotion to blue is less than 5, Thassa is not a creature. At the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 other target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. And she has 3 and a blue, tap another target creature.
So yeah, it's kind of just a strictly better or a vast improvement, at least, to Conjurer's Closet. We haven't really played Conjurer's Closet in competitive EDH in a while. It's not quite good enough, but the fact that this costs less, it triggers on your end step so that you get the effect immediately. It is indestructible, so if you do have some kind of good combo with it, they can't remove your value piece. Just kind of makes it a little interesting. I'm not sure if this is going to see play anytime soon in anything like reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Animar is kind of the one that makes me think of it first, where being able to cast this for blue and then blink one of your good ETB effects because you're playing a bunch of ETB effects in Animar.
Yeah.
That seems somewhat useful. But even then, it's more of just kind of this makes it so that moving forward, if we ever wanted a Conjurer's Closet, we have a better one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and we're going to be in blue almost all the time anyways, so there's no reason to pay one more for Conjurer's Closet anyways.
Yeah. So, just a cool card. I'm hoping that it at some point sees play, but not banking on it just yet.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be for those value engine-based ETB decks. And so I could see flickering a Recruiter of the Guard or a Imperial Recruiter with this being like the magical Christmas land, but then there'd be other things that might be interesting. Well, we'll get to a few those other cards.
Yeah,
probably right up next.
So, I mean, in general, this, like, all of the legendary enchantment creatures that are indestructible, they've just got a bunch of things going for them just with that so far, right? Enchantment creature, you can tutor for it. Oh, indestructible, so it doesn't actually kind of get the downside of being two different card types. Like, that's always super nice. But, yeah, I mean, they are still a little costly for how good they end up being.
Yeah, I can see a permanent Conjurer's Closet being a build around in the future if we ever need it. So I'm happy with that. Let's move on to Thassa's Oracle. She is blue for a creature merfolk wizard for a 1/3. And she says, when Thassa's Oracle enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is your devotion to blue. Put up to one of them on top of your library, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game.
Oh god, this card. So, I was at work the other day.
Yeah.
And I had a really busy day ahead of me, and about 10 a.m.
Yep.
I even closed Discord on my work computer, and at about 10 a.m., I get a ping from Shaper saying, "Have you seen this yet?"
Oh yeah, no, the sky kind of fell.
And I got nothing done at work that day because all we did was talked about this card. My first reading of it, I think I had a similar reaction as a lot of people, where I'm reading this card, I'm like, oh, that's cute. Oh, that's cool. Oh, wait a minute, what the fuck?
Yeah, if you
because
take
that
last
sentence,
it's so broken. It's on a 2-cost card, an alternate win con on 2-cost.
So the biggest thing immediately that you should notice about this card is that, yes, it is a 3rd Laboratory Maniac, and yes, this one, just like Jace Wielder of Mysteries, the 4-cost one, does not require a cantrip to actually win the game for you. Just having the empty library, Jace can plus, and then you win. Yep. Just having the empty library, Thassa's Oracle can exist, and it's a triggered ability, which is even harder to interact with than almost anything else. And then you kind of keep rereading this card, and then you notice the little or equal to. Those 3 words there.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, wait a minute. So if I play a Thassa's Oracle on an empty board with an empty deck, and then somebody kills it before the trigger, my devotion's 0, but my deck size is still equal to that at 0, so I still win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and then they release an article talking about how, like, they almost didn't put that last sentence, and they're like, but screw it, we wanted to. And I'm like, oh.
It had a certain je ne sais quoi. A little bit of extra that just turned the card up to 11. So
it had a little bit of... I love that je ne sais quoi literally means I don't know what.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what they were thinking exactly when they decided, like, yeah, it does need to win the game as well. So yeah.
There's a lot of implications here. there's already been a direct tweet from Sheldon about Thassa's Oracle, and there is a lot of concern from a competitive EDH standpoint. We have been somewhat heard regarding how Flash is warping the meta. And so what Thassa's Oracle is doing is it's now combining the two strongest strategies into one. You have Flash Hulk, which the downside of Flash Hulk is you have to have some bad cards in your deck. They're just the combo enablers for Flash Hulk. And then you have
and not even just bad cards. You have to have some cards that you actively do not want to draw.
Yes.
Usually.
Yeah.
Which means that your grind game just is going to be a little worse because you don't want to draw specific cards. So the more cards you draw, the more chance you have to draw those cards. All right, that's a little bit of a downside, right?
The worse your combo is. And then you have Consult, which the strong part of Consult is you don't need a lot in play to win, and you pretty much just need 2 cards. And with Jason Consult, that's it. You don't even need an extra cantrip. You just have Jason Consult. And now this just combined both of those. So you take out all of the bad cards from Flash Hulk, and you take out a few of the extra pieces of cantrips and other interaction from Consult decks, and you mash them together, and you get probably about 90 to 95 cards that are going to be the best strategy in competitive EDH for the foreseeable future until something changes. Until we see Consult or Flash Band, which I don't know if we ever will, we are going to be dealing with Thassa's Oracle and Flash Hulk as the best strategy for a while.
Yeah, and you know, of course, one thing about Consult that has been kind of very noticeable to me is that it's really hard to hate it out. There's really not very much that you can do in terms of stacks pieces, in terms of proactive stopping them, other than literally just managing to be way ahead in card advantage. And even then, they only need to find the 2 specific cards.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things where, and so a lot of people are talking about a lot of different Hulk piles. In general, the kind of quickest and dirtiest one is just Cephalid Illusionist, Nomad Zenkor, and Thassa's Oracle, where they need to stifle the Hulk trigger to stop you, or counterspell the Flash to stop you. And once, if they've missed those opportunities, and they don't have those cards ready, then no creature removal stops you at all, other than like some kind of instant, because you can just keep responding with the Nomad's ability to keep milling your whole deck. Yep. And once your deck is completely in your graveyard, Thassa's Oracle is just sitting there with the ability on the stack, and
then you just win.
You just win.
So there might be some changes. We might see more Stifles, more Trick Binds, more Tail's End. But in general, this is a very scary card. And the market has already adjusted. I don't know if you've looked at Tainted Pact recently. It's like $25 now.
Yeah, no, it's already gone up. And it's just worrying in general. It's just something where for a good while, people could have argued that like Flash or Consult or Najeela maybe were kind of some of the best strategies in the format. And all of the other Hulk decks are worse than this, is kind of one of the issues. Yeah. Many of the Hulk players are already complaining to me about how, well, this sucks. Like, I kind of liked Hulk because there were like 6 different ways you could do it, and all of these different things all seemed like equivalently strong and had upsides and downsides.
And this is just better.
This one's just a little better. Yeah. It's and like honestly, as someone who's played a lot of like just Consult, Thrasios, like this just seems better than Scepter. Why would I play CST when I could just play Consult Flash Hulk instead?
Yeah.
Doesn't require the same amount of onboard presence, doesn't require my ability to make 3 or 4 mana from permanents, non-land permanents, doesn't require wins through Null Rod, right? Like it. In fact, this deck can play Null Rod if it wants to. That's kind of ridiculous to me.
Yeah, so Curse Totem's probably going to be showing up a lot more too now, too.
Where, you know, if Curse Totem starts showing up more, then you have to go for the Laboratory Maniac Spellseeker line instead. And it's like, oh, yeah, no, they have ways to play around pretty much everything. Because if you Flash Hulk into Spellseeker, Laboratory Maniac, you can just cast a consult. Yeah, from the... So the big thing is obviously Torpor Orb, which is something that, like Torpor Orb and Hushbringer, which is something that those cards are just hard to run.
Yeah.
Because they stop so many of, you know, other strategies where it's like, well, this stops my strategy in one way or another, or this has kind of negative impact for me in one way or another. And then kind of it won't stop other things if people are still playing other things in metas. It's just one of those things where the more you tech against this specific deck, the worse your deck feels when you're not playing against it.
Yeah. This is format warping, is what it will be. And now, this is EDH we're playing. Not everybody is always going to be on the top end deck every single time. Now, there might be some metas that you're just going to sit down and you have 4 people playing Fish Hulk for a really long time. But it's going to change. It's going to get stale. Yeah. But you'll always have, this is going to be the deck on the pedestal of, if you're wanting to play the best thing possible, you play this. And then if you're playing that, it makes an inbred meta. I mean, it's like Oko right now in Modern. I mean, what do you do in order to beat Oko? Well, you play Oko. And now we have Oko in Burn, and it's actually winning.
Oh god, I saw that list and I was upset.
Yeah, because you're basically playing Temur Burn, and you've got Goyf in Burn now. And it's like, what? And what's surprising is also Oko turns things into 3/3s that you can then bolt to get rid of.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
So you have cards that are so crazy they just tip the scale, and this is one of those that is going to be tipping the scale. We know it's tipping the scale, and we really won't see how it's going until maybe Monday, when we possibly hear about a ban. We don't know.
Yeah, the big thing to me is that like, obviously it is still EDH. Obviously people want to play with whatever they deem fun for themselves, even at top level tables. Just that's kind of, you know, it's not worth playing the game because there's none of this is really for money or for prizes. It's mostly just for fun. You know, it's still EDH, but all you need is like 1 or 2 people in a group of 10 to say, well, but I want to play the best thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that's all it takes to really just make the entire group feel it.
Oh, yeah. This is the tournament deck.
Yeah. And this is the deck that, you know, I'm in a game with the devil for my life on the line. There's no other option in my head.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not something I want to play. It's not something I think is going to be fun. It's something that I think is honestly like just kind of boring as heck.
So the big thing is this is taking probably 8 different strategies, different Hulk piles, different consultation lists, and consolidating them all.
The things in general,
consolidating them all into 1 or 2 lists. I mean, maybe 3, but it's all going to be the same Fish Hulk, but it'll be Kenrith, Najeela, or Thrasios and Tymna at the helm, and that's basically all you're going to see.
And so actually, I've been helping out with the primer that we're working on for Fish Hulk already, along with Sick Robots, the guy who has done a lot of work on Shuffle Hulk and is kind of the pioneer in that respect. And So he's been spearheading this, but me and Shaper and Siggy and Sleepy and Pongo have all been contributing to this as well, and we can link this in the video description.
Yep.
It's got 94 cards at the moment. It's subject to change. It's subject to change more when we do more playtesting, but 94 cards at the moment, and then like 20 or so cards at the bottom that are pick your last 6. And we're thinking this is going to be the list.
Yeah.
And it's just a little scary. We're very much hoping something changes, because this isn't exactly the ideal timeline.
I agree. And I think with that, why don't we move on?
Yeah, please.
Next up is Thirst for Meaning. 2 and a youth for an instant. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards, unless you discard an enchantment card.
Awesome. I love compulsive research. I love
Thirst for Knowledge.
I love Thirst for Knowledge. And this is just another one. I think that this card is going to be absurdly great in like standard. Obviously. But I think that with all of this kind of enchantment-esque support that we're getting in this set, it's making it more and more real for like Enchantress to be a like real cEDH deck, not just like a meme cEDH deck. Because we've had a couple of memey, like Enchantress-y, value-y, stacksy decks once or twice before. But this one's looking pretty decent with all of these new kind of tools.
Yeah. We're slowly getting there. It's like your
Draw 3 is fucking good. I like Draw 3.
I do too.
So
an instant.
Yeah.
It's instant. We're seeing the tail end of like this cycle. I mean, it started in Ravnica with compulsive research. So this is a long
research that long ago?
I'm pretty sure that was Ravnica.
I can look that up. It was originally, Ravnica City of Guilds.
Yeah.
Where we got compulsive research. Yeah. So, took them a while. But, no, it's a good cycle. Draw 3 cards for 3 mana is tight.
I like it.
Yeah, me too.
Let's move on. Next up, we have Aspect of the Lamprey. What's wrong with your face? All right. Moving on. Storm Herald.
She just has a weird face, man. Like I'm really not looking forward to kissing that at night, right?
The art here is just crazy. Some of the art is really good. Some of it's just like, what was the art direction and why is that a nightmare? Really no. Storm Herald, 2 and a red. It's a creature human shaman. He's a 3/2. He has haste. And when Storm Herald enters the battlefield, return any number of aura cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to creatures you control. Exile those auras at the beginning of your next end step. If those auras would leave the battlefield, exile them instead of putting them anywhere else.
So the first time I read this card, I just didn't read that last sentence. I just straight up skipped it. My brain knew that it was bad for me to read it and allowed me to skip it.
I totally understand. I would love that card without that last little bit. The exile clause is kind of the hard part. If auras would leave the battlefield.
Yeah. So I spent a good half hour thinking about how to use this card with Pattern of Rebirth and what you could do with it, and then Cameron reminded me about that last sentence, and I just got real sad.
This would be really cool if Pattern would work with it, because then you'd essentially have a Boon Weaver with a mill. I like that. That would be really cool. Instead, we kind of have a little bit of a weird combo engine that could exist right now. We don't quite have it yet. So if we had auras that said enchanted creature taps for 2 mana, then we could have an aura that does that. We have Pemin's aura that lets you untap things or freed from the real, and then anything that would either a creature that could tap to deal damage, or enchantment that can do that, and you have Storm Herald plus mill, and you could basically make a creature machine gun. Now there are creatures that tap for more than 1 mana, and then we just need the enchantment that can deal damage, and the enchantment that and Pemin's Aura in the bin, and then you have that. But that's just more work and a little bit more frustrating, and a lot of those cards we don't usually run.
Yeah, and I have also thought about like things you can do with this with some self-mill into like Splinter Twin, but all of the lines that I've found so far just either require too many cards, too many resources. But it's something that like it has some real potential.
Oh yeah.
But I just don't think we've gotten the aura that breaks him yet. But we could get it printed at any moment.
Agreed. Now, one that isn't quite an aura, but is an enchantment, is Underworld Breach. That's 1 in a red enchantment. Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost, plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice Underworld Breach.
Whew! So, the obvious comparison that everyone's going to immediately make is Yawgmoth's Will.
Mm-hmm.
And now some people are even going as far as saying it's better than Yawgmoth's Will. And I think that it's got situations where it is just better.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
It definitely has situations where it's better. I think that overall it's not like just better. I think that the exiling 3 other cards cost is pretty real.
That is real, yes.
And that's something where it makes it much, much, much harder to use this as just like a little value case. Like the number of times I've done like Yawgmoth's Will, play a land, play a tutor, and then play 1 other card.
Yeah,
where I only had like 5 cards in my graveyard to begin with, and I just really wanted to get another tutor. And I wanted to try to, like, I play a lot of Earthcraft. I wanted to just Yawg Will, Demonic Tutor, Earthcraft, done with the effects of Yawg Will, and now I'm just trying to win. I've had a lot of situations like that personally. I've seen a lot of, like, Yawgmoth's Wills as quote-unquote regrowths, where they just use it, play a land from graveyard, and then play 1 card from graveyard. So it lacks that value case in most situations.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, now that I've gotten everything bad I have to say about it out, holy shit. This card goes kind of quote-unquote pseudo-infinite with LED and Wheel of Fortune. The fact that cards that enter your graveyard after this card is in play don't get exiled, that's the real big upside in my head.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some people are even going as far as saying they want to run Brain Freeze because of the interaction with it, which, like, that seems a little suspect to me.
I agree on that, yeah.
It's definitely something where just the interaction of LED and Wheel of Fortune, 2 cards that if you're playing a deck that's, like, Stormy in general, those cards are already cards that people have been running for years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it just goes through your whole deck with them. Essentially, it lets you do it all. And I don't know why it's an enchantment, not a sorcery. But
so
I love that fact.
Yeah, it lets you recast the same card multiple times. That's the whole point. Yeah. And if it was just a sorcery, once they change zones, you would no longer get that escape clause. So I think in standard, this has the ability of basically letting you like shock multiple times if you need to. But in our format, LED plus wheel, you are actually positive 1 card on that process at least.
Every time.
And so you get to not only sculpt your graveyard to make sure you have exactly what you need. You also, I mean, roughly you get around 25 to 30 spell casts, depending on when this happens in the game. And you should be able to win at that point. There should be some way that you could find between that. You're looking at like 12 Wheel of Fortunes, maybe a few more. You'll find what you need to at that point.
Oh yeah. No, this lets you This lets you do a lot more than Yawgmoth's will, but it's kind of, I feel like it's higher ceiling, lower floor.
Yes. Yeah, I agree on that.
But Yawgmoth's will is one of the best cards in the game. So for something to be higher ceiling than it, that feels great.
Yeah. And I'll take the lower floor to match up for that any day.
Yeah. No, it's this is a card that is incredibly powerful, is very cool, and I'm happy it exists. Compared to some other incredibly powerful, cool cards that came out in this set.
I agree. Let's move on. So last of our red, and we've got Destiny Spinner coming up. She's a enchantment creature human for 1 and a green. She's a 2/3. She says, creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. And then she has 3 and a green. Target land you control becomes an XX elemental creature with trample and haste until its turn, where X is the number of enchantments you control. It is still a land. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so I asked for this card to be put on our list today. I've been talking about it with people on the Blood Pod servers. It is just another effect that lets us be completely uncounterable for our many creatures and many enchantments we run in that deck. It's another Vexing Shusher. It's another Rhythm of the Wild, if you want to think about it, compared to those two cards. 2 mana 2/3s are really good in this meta. I like them. In general, I like them. They don't die to Pyroclasms. They can block Tymnas.
I see this mostly as the creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. I don't really see the 3 in the green making an elemental creature with haste and trample very relevant. I don't see any deck right now that will use that, but if Enchantress ever comes up, here's another card for it.
Yep. Well, so the other fun thing, so specifically in Blood Pod, a deck where you sometimes just kind of have a bunch of cards and can't really do anything with all of the mana that you're making and are just kind of sitting around with nothing.
Oh.
I can see it every now and then animating a land. But the other thing that people have started throwing around now that we have this and Vexing Shusher and Rhythm of the Wild is, can we run Nether Void and just ignore the fact that it costs 3 more because we make our things uncounterable?
Oh.
And so we're trying to play around with that idea. I'm not sure how great it's going to really be, but
that's a strong stacks piece.
Yeah. No, that's a stacks piece that'll actually impact Flash Hulk or Consult. Making them pay 3 more is so much mana.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of one of those things where it's like, is that even really, like, could we even get that to work out for us positively? It's interesting.
For those unfamiliar with Nether Void, it is a world enchantment that says whenever a player casts a spell, counter it unless they pay 3. So it is a enchantment that mana leaks every spell ever cast. And if we tack on the arc spells can't be countered, that is very reasonable. And in Blood Pod, aren't you running Rector anyways?
I'm not running Rector in Blood Pod right now, but it's definitely something where, like, kind of makes it almost like more reasonable, right? If we're actually running Nether Void and we're running, the slew of things that we are running, makes it so that people can't really block it with anything other than, like, a 1/2 or a 1/3 because they really don't want it to die.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an infinite swinger. No, it's just got some ideas that I don't hate, but it's one of those things where I feel like I'm going to test it for a while and then just feel not great because it's
not Vexing Shusher.
Yeah. Vexing Shusher is so good.
The fact that it itself can't be countered. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's
what's
and Rhythm of the Wild has some minor upsides with the Yisan lines and with Mana Dorks in general. But Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting enough for me to keep an eye on it personally.
What's kind of funny was originally I had this on the list and I cut it just to kind of trim down. So it was right on the border of being I liked it enough to talk, but I hadn't thought about the Nether Void line. I do like that, but it's just right on the edge.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's all right. Yeah.
Let's move on to another, maybe a little bit better than all right. Dryad of the Elysian Grove. 2 and a green for an enchantment creature Nymph. He's a 2/4, and he says you may play an additional land each of your turns, and lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types.
So one thing that I didn't realize a lot of people would be confused about, no, it doesn't make the lands basic lands.
No.
They don't get to untap under back to basics.
No.
They don't get to ignore blood moons. They don't get to work with Earthcraft. It is the same as Prismatic Omen.
Mm-hmm.
And that line of text, well, kind of nice. It's really, really nice for budget in general. This is going to be a dank budget card, which unfortunately in our format ends up meaning that like it ends up costing like $10 because everybody wants the really great budget card.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's like a 3-mana Oracle of Moldiah. It has the more important, just like Courser of Krufix had half of Oracle of Moldiah's effect. This one has the other half, but this is the better half.
Oh yeah.
And it's a 2/4. 2/4 is a great body.
It blocks Najeela.
Yeah,
that's really
kills
solid.
Najeela.
Yeah,
just murks her.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And it ramps you if you've got the land. So
yeah.
Any sort of long grindy game, this I could definitely see this scene play.
Especially if people are playing more wheels in your meta, or people are playing more twisters in your meta. You end up with more lands than you wanted to have, and just letting yourself dump those. It's pretty sweet. A lot of decks are not on. Is it Exploration is the one?
Yes.
The 1 mana. A lot of decks are not on Exploration, but a lot of Tymna-y decks could see this card specifically as an Exploration with some upside. And especially when you don't have your all of your fetches and all of your dual lands and all of your shocks. Mm-hmm. Something like this is going to be amazing and incredible. And this is going to be $10, whereas all of those are like 40+. So
100% agree.
Great card overall.
Yeah. Let's move on to Hyrex Tower Scout. For 2 and a green, creature human scout. It's a 3/3. And it says when Hyrex Tower Scout enters the battlefield, untap target creature.
So this is good for red, green, Kiki, and Twin.
Yes. And Yisan.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about that one. Yeah, sure. And Yisan.
Yeah, so this lets you twin. This is actually a twin combo piece. And I mean, Mono Red already had twin with Zealous Conscripts, but that costs like 6 mana, and nobody wants to pay
5,
that.
But yeah.
5, yeah. But Hyrex Tower Scout lets you twin really easily. It doesn't have flash, which is the downside. But it's another 3-cost untapper for Vannifar if you really need another one at that cost level. But if you've got the mana, this does allow you to go from 1 to 4 with Yisan really easily. Actually, I think you can go to 0 to 4 now. You've got Quirion Ranger. What are the untappers? You can go from 2 to 4.
Quirion Ranger, Scrib Ranger, this.
And then so you can go all the way up on Yisan, which is nice. It's a toolbox combo piece. I like it. I like that green now has this option. This is going to make cubes more fun because now you can do.
Oh my god, this is such a. Cube is my favorite format. I love cEDH, but Cube is my favorite format.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even think about it in Cube until just when you said that. This is amazing.
Yeah. No, as a common, I like seeing that ability in common. It's fun. It's just fun.
Well, and one thing that's always nice. Twin and Kiki need almost the same thing, but there are a lot of cards that work with one but not the other.
Yep.
And so whenever they release a new card that works with both, that's always an upside for sure for me.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a 3/3 body, that's actually the biggest body of almost any twin combo piece.
Yeah. I think Zel's Conscript is the other biggest one.
Yeah, which is also a 3/3, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this costs 2 less mana than that. This is a pretty solid card for that thing overall.
Mm-hmm.
In competitive EDH specifically, the decks that are currently on Kiki, almost all are on white, and white gives you Village Bellringer, which is obviously just better because it untaps all creatures you control, and has flash, and is a 1/4, which, like, when you have infinite, I guess there's no real difference between 3/3 and 1/4, but it's not going to immediately find a niche in competitive EDH, but any kind of green-red deck in the future that doesn't have white or doesn't have blue, you could do Jund.
Twin as an option, yeah.
Yeah, you can do Jund, Kiki, and Twin now, which is not really a thing you could do before.
And I like that.
Yeah. Always good to have more win cons, more combos in more different color combinations.
Mm-hmm. Now, another piece that we're seeing, it's not quite another piece. Mystic Repeal, green, instant. Put target enchantment on the bottom of its owner's library. It's niche. I would have liked it to say, or artifact. At which point, it would be amazing.
At which point, it's a legacy staple, it's a modern staple, it's a competitive EDH staple, it's Nature's Claim, but better. It's gross if it says or artifact, and I wish it did. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I'm always going to consistently be happy about with power creep is power creeped answers. Answers should always be getting power crept. You always need better and more different and more niche things to answer more, different varying strategies that continue to emerge, right? It's why at the end of the day, blue is the best color for interaction, because counterspell can hit anything. Mm-hmm. So, but no, this is a really cool card. I think that, in standard and limited, in this enchantment-based set, I'm very glad that they're trying to put in such strong, powerful answers to their current format that they're making. And I see that as a good sign moving forward. Hopefully we will get something, Nature's Claim level power in the future. Because we could definitely use another Nature's Claim.
That isn't CMC locked or sorcery. So
yeah, exactly. Which all of the rest of them are. It needs to be an instant. It needs to have a diverse type that it can hit, and it needs to be good removal. And I mean, bottom of owner's library is better than destroying.
It is the furthest away besides exile. But even then, it's in some cases against some decks, it is further away than exiles.
Yeah, no, for sure. Bottom of their library it's just impossible to get again. There's a reason why they removed the tuck rule, or the ability to tuck other people's commanders into their decks, because you're just never going to get them again.
Yeah, never going to. All right. Let's move on to Nyx Bloom Ancient. 4 green. It's an enchantment creature elemental. It's a 5/5 mana. 7 mana, 5/5. Gotta have something. Oh yeah. If you tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times as much of that mana instead.
Sorry, did you say a land?
A permanent.
Sorry, did you say double?
No, I said triple.
Oh my god. This is one of the funniest mana reflections I've ever seen them print.
And it's a creature.
Yeah, it is. So, we've got Vorinclex, we've got Mana Reflection already. Those have existed for quite some time. Mm-hmm. But, wow, it's just one of those things where, like, they kind of keep realizing, like, all right, what can we really do to make a 7 mana creature, like, too strong? And then they keep not seeing play in any format other than, like,
EDH.
very casual, just for fun, kitchen table or EDH.
Yeah.
I haven't played a Vorinclex personally since I started trying to call my deck competitive EDH. And back in 2012 or 2013 or something.
I've hard cast Nezahal at 7, but he can't be countered. So, 7 mana. What I actually see this as, I actually see this as 1 U green, which is Flash plus Nyx.
It's actually Ancient. 1 U plus 1 and a G is all you actually need.
Yeah, because you just tap anything for green and you get 3 green.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we found this very funny interaction where the way that Flash works, what a fun, awesome, well-designed card Flash is. The way that Flash works is it puts the creature into play.
Yep.
Then, without giving anyone priority, it asks you for a mana payment. Because of the way that happens, where it is in play, then it asks you for a mana payment. It asks you to pay 2 green, because it's, Nyxborn Ancient minus 2 mana. And so then if you tap 1, a colorless anything, you tap a Wastes and you tap a Forest, all right? You end up with 3 colorless and 3 green, and you actually only needed 5 mana to pay for it, so you end up with a free colorless left over.
Yeah.
And you get this guy in play. Which actually, I do wonder if, Flash is banned in Legacy, right?
Yes, yeah.
There was if it wasn't, I wonder if there would be a funny little combo deck where you use Flash, Nyx Bloom, and then tap a bunch of mana and then sacrifice it anyways, just as a mana ritual.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something like that at some point, but it's gone. But for us, this is just a stupid mana source. This is amazing. If you ever try to flash it, there's better things you can flash, but if you wanted to get a ton of mana, this also can be grabbed by Rector. I mean, Omniscience can be grabbed by Rector, but Omniscience doesn't let you pay into Thrasios and doesn't let you pay into Kenrith. So, there's some upsides and downsides. It's just
it's one of those things where, if Hulk some reason gets banned instead of Flash, and we live in that world, and somebody makes, I could see it, it wouldn't be a top tier, it wouldn't be a really super competitive thing, but I could see a high power deck that is trying to run this combo and lean on this combo and do Flash Rector stuff, and it could play games with competitive EDH decks and do okay. Yeah. But I could see a funny meme little deck doing something like this. It's an interesting card. We've never seen somebody triple your mana from everything before. That is it's such an absurd concept in a lot of ways.
If you want to start getting into weird maths, look at Rite of Replication with this.
I think it's over 700 times is what you end up with. So you tap a Forest for 700, and I think it was 20 something mana.
It'd be 3 to the 6th.
Yeah.
I'm just doing that really quick because I want to see.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it's more than that. It's 2187.
I think you have one extra 3 there.
5. No, yeah, you're right. It was 729. 729.
Yeah. 720. Yeah. So if you manage to, and how much does your Rite of Replication cost again with this
9
in play already?
3. You just tap 3.
3. Things. Yeah. So you do this. You get the Nyx Bloom into play. You pay 3.
Well, you
mana,
tap 3 lands, yeah.
Tap whatever. 3 lands. You end up with way too many of them in play, and the next land you tap is 729 mana. It's silly. I'm not sure if it'll ever really be relevant to the games I play, but
it's fun to see. I'm glad it
exists. Yeah. Now, if I ever lose to this, I'm going to shake that person's hand.
You buy them a drink. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna. They're great. I'm gonna name my first kid's middle name after them.
it would be hilarious if it happens. I think we're good there. Let's move on to Renata, called to the hunt. For 2 green, we have a legendary enchantment creature, Demigod. With Renata's power is equal to your devotion to green, and she's got 3 toughness. And each other creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it.
Another card that combos with Gave, but by no means the most efficient one, unfortunately. No. It is another card that works for Malera E combos. It's another Metallic Mimic. It's another whatever you want to call it.
Any persist combo. This is just your 5th copy, or 4th or 5th copy. Yeah. Downsides, it costs 4, so it is the most expensive of them all. But
upside is that it's got a much, much better body than any of the rest of them.
Yeah.
It's a minimum of a 2/3, where it just gets bigger. And then the actual way that it does the Malera combo thing, because Malera is just your creatures don't get the -1/-1, or Vizier is just your creatures don't get the -1/-1. Whereas this actively does something more positive when you just play it as a card.
Yeah.
At the same time,
your Saprolines being 2/2s in Blood Pod wouldn't be necessarily irrelevant. Timna being a 3/3 wouldn't be irrelevant. So,
it's got some things where Metallic Mimic, you only get to pick one thing, so you pick whatever your combo thing is. But yeah, it's definitely not the worst thing ever. It's definitely a card that some people will play and will be okay with. But I don't think it's quite good enough overall to just kind of boom niche format staple for this kind of combo.
No. Yeah. If it costs 2 or 3, At 4.
Easy. Oh, if it cost 2, it'd be fucking the best Malera combo piece.
It's just your copy 3 or 4, and if you really need it, we got it.
Yep.
Well, next up we actually have a doubleheader. We have Mischievous Chimera for blue and a red enchantment creature Chimera, flying. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, Mischievous Chimera deals 1 damage to each opponent, scry 1. And it's a 2/2. And right next to it, we have Wavebreak Hippocamp for 2 and a blue. Enchantment creature, Horse Fish. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, draw a card. And it's a 2/2.
I really like the type line of enchantment creature Horse Fish. That's a great type line. Just want to point that out before we talk about the cards at all. So yeah, this whole kind of loop that you have to jump through for both of these cards is the same. You have to cast spells on opponents' turns, and it doesn't reward you for casting more than 1.
Yep.
So the fact that it doesn't reward you for casting more than 1 is kind of the biggest upsetting thing to me for both of these cards.
I mean, it's essentially Vial Smasher's trigger.
Right.
But it's only on opponent's turn, whereas Vial Smasher can be on your turn too.
Right. So the Chimera is another... So if you're not familiar with it, we've got a deck that people call Curious Control, where the Curious is Curiosity and Keen Sense. They're pretty okay with Vial Smasher and Instants and casting spells on other people's turns and whatnot. In the past, we've also seen... Cobblepot actually made this wonderful list filled with cards like Firebrand
Archer.
Firebrand Archer, thank you. That's the one I was trying to remember. Where Firebrand Archer is... here, I'll actually just bring it up as well. Firebrand Archer is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. And so that triggers on your own turn, costs 2 mana, just like the Chimera. Triggers off of any spells you cast. So the big kind of thing you want to remember in these is that what happens when there's a counter war in cEDH? Well, you generally play 2 cards on the same turn, on an opponent's turn. You're trying to stop them. You play something, somebody else plays something, somebody else plays something. The original player plays 2 things, gets rid of all the counter spells, you play another one. A lot happens all in the same time.
Yeah.
So the fact that it gives you it for everything is just kind of a little bit nicer. But this is just another great card to put a Curiosity on. The fact that it has the extra Scry 1, that's really kind of nice. And the fact that it's a 2/2 flying means that, 1, you actually get to swing in with it, so that the Curiosity is just like combat damage trigger will go off more often than not. And the other thing about it is that it doesn't die to Flame Sweep.
Yes, that is a really good point. So the downside of the Wavebreak Hippocamp is that it's a 2/2 without flying, and it will die to all of your pyroclasms. In Curious Control, you usually are running 3 to 6-ish pyroclasm type effects, which deal 2 damage to all creatures with the goal of killing off Tymna and Mana Dorks. Wavebreak Hippocamp kind of just dies there. But Chimera does live through your Flame Sweep. It doesn't live through any of your other pyroclasms. But
I think that the main ones that people are on right now are Massacre, right?
Yep.
And like Deluge, obviously, and then Flame Sweep. And I've seen some people just kind of chill with those 3 because those are kind of the best of the best. But other people I've seen be on Rolling still, Rolling Earthquake. I've seen people still be on Kozilek's Return as just another instant. So yeah, there are a lot of really, really good options to kind of screw with the green Tymna menace that early games often are plagued by. But yeah, just the other thing is that you can kind of save these cards for when you actually have a Curiosity or when you actually have something ready. And turning every counter spell you play on an opponent's turn into a Ancestral Recall and Scry 1.
It's pretty solid. So we've said Curiosity a lot, and we haven't actually explained it for those who aren't familiar.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. So Curiosity says whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. So for Mischievous Chimera, that says whenever you cast your first spell on each opponent's turn, deal 1 damage to 3 different opponents and draw 3 cards. That's a really strong effect.
I believe that the way that the triggers end up working out is that you deal the 3 damage, you scry 1, then you draw 3.
Yes, that is correct.
So that's pretty nice that you get the scry before the draws as well. Wavebreak Hippocamp in the other camp. He just draws a card for you. You don't have to go through any hoops. You don't have to play an enchantment. He just draws a card for you, but I feel like he doesn't end up being good enough. I feel like you don't get so anything that I'm paying 2 or 3 mana and I want it to be a value engine, quote unquote. It needs to pass the Phyrexian Altar test, right? Needs to pass the does it give me 1 card per turn at minimum. That is the barest of minimums. That when I play this card, it will give me 1 card per turn. Where Phyrexian Altar is kind of the lowest bar I would set, because Phyrexian Altar, you don't get the card until your next turn for when you first play it. Doesn't do anything immediately, right? And so I think of Wavebreak Hippocamp as kind of very, very close to the same threshold as that, where if you're just playing it on turn 2 or 3, you're definitely not playing any instants with it. You're definitely not getting your draw on your first kind of round.
So I see Wavebreak Hippocamp more in a Xerox shell, where you have a lot of cantrips that you're just going to be playing anyways, and you're going to be leaving up mana. So in a reactive deck that has a good number of cantrips, I see Wavebreak Hippocamp as possibly turning a Brainstorm into draw 4 put 2 back.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
And turning a Omen of the Sea into a draw 1, scry 2, draw 1. That's where I see Wave Break being better. But at 3, it's kind of a little iffy. I think it would be, if you're running Rashmi, I think this is a better Rashmi.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah. I think that's a really great comparison point. It is very similar to Rashmi's power. Well, for what I would expect for 1 less, and especially 1 colored less mana. Mm-hmm. So because, obviously each individual colored mana that you add onto a card makes it kind of a quarter of a turn, half a turn slower to play on average, right? And so, 2 and a blue versus 2 blue-green is like a turn and a half difference on average or something like that, as far as how quickly you can develop it. So yeah, no, I like that comparison still. I'm not sure if we'll end up seeing play with much of this one. I'm a little bit more optimistic about the Chimera, but the Chimera also kind of, it needs specifically one of the Ophidian Eye, the Curiosity, the Keen Sense, to really do its work. But when that card gets going, I feel like that card is going to be flying. It's going to be sweet.
I would definitely see it as a possibility inside of anybody that's playing Niv-Mizzet Perun. And that guy is, because it's not 100% right there, but if you've got an early Curiosity, 3 mana to get a massive card advantage engine in play, really worth it.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right.
Why don't we move on? We're
almost done with the multicolor.
Yeah. Well, all we've got left is multicolor, actually.
Yeah.
Kunoros, Hound of Aetherios. Legendary creature Hound for 1 white and a black. He's a 3/3. He's got Vigilance, Menace, and Lifelink. Creature cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from graveyards.
So close.
This card. It's half of Grafdigger's Cage, but it's not the relevant half.
Well, so both halves of Grafdigger's Cage are great. But one of those halves is kind of gravy, and one of those halves is like, holy shit, Hulk's really strong and I need to stop him.
Yes.
And this is the card that gets the gravy, where it's like, hoo-hoo, you're stopping those Underworld Breaches, you're stopping that Yawgmoth's Will, you're stopping those reanimate Razaketh and reanimate Sire of Insanity and reanimate Elishnorn, whatever, right? But
you're not stopping Flash Hulk.
You're not stopping the Flash Hulk. Yeah. And that's just kind of, it's so close. It's just a little disappointing. The fact that it's got like a sweet 3/3 Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink body just adds to my disappointment that it's not good enough for me to play.
It is like an amazing hate bear that's almost there.
Yeah, no, it is oh my god, I would love to be able to just play that card, but it doesn't have the full text of Grafdigger's Cage, and Grafdigger's Doggo is just...
Yeah, not quite there.
Yeah, so it's not quite there, but it is something where, there is a future possible timeline that exists where we lose the Flash, and we lose the Consult, and we lose the Tainted Pact, and people are now on more Reanimate Razaketh. People are now on more, Storm, Yawgmoth's Will, Underworld Breach. And this card goes right back in.
Yeah.
Right back into the meta. Yeah.
I mean, we at that same point where we're reanimating Razakeths, we could just be reanimating Hulks. So we'd be more on like the Boonweaver trips that we used to be on. But this has a potential future. Not right now, but maybe in a year.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I look, when I'm going to get one just to cross my fingers and hope that I get to play him eventually.
I historically am a sucker for good Orzhov cards. Just the art on them is always great. The design is always something that I really like, but they're very rarely playable. And this one is so close.
And there's like, all right, I love Greek and Roman mythology in general. Just taking enough classes in high school where they talk about those languages, you end up learning way too much of the mythology, and the mythology is fun.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, this entire set is filled with flavor wins, where, like, this is a sweet, sweet depiction of a Greek myth, you know? They're the guard to the it's Cerberus. They're the guard to the underworld. Creature cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. You're in the underworld. You're stuck there. Yeah. What, you think you're gonna just go through the Cerberus? No. Right? I love it, but and this entire set is filled with great flavor wins like that. But you know, that's what's making me think that I'm gonna buy it, but you know, a meta shift is something that would need to happen for me to actually play it.
Yeah. Buy it and pet the doggo, and then we can move on.
Yep.
To Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger for black and a red. Legendary creature, Elder Giant. It's a Titan for 6/6. What, a 2-mana 6/6? Alright, so when Kroxa enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. Okay, alright. Whenever Kroxa enters the battlefield or attacks, each opponent discards a card. Then each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card this way loses 3 life. And he has escape, black, black, red, red, exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. Wow.
Yeah. So, the first thing that I noticed was it is a 6/6 with the subtype Giant.
Yeah.
And with a trigger that happens whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks.
It is a Titan.
It is a Titan. It is part of the, you know, it is the long lost brother to Sun Titan, Primordial Titan,
Primeval.
Primeval, thank you. Primeval Titan, Inferno Titan, Grave Titan, and Frost Titan. And it's also a really cool card design. I really like the way that they made these guys work. Where you kind of play them as a very early card with just a small effect. You know, you play him, he immediately dies, but each opponent discards a card. And then, you know, they lose 3 life if they, you know, discarded a land or didn't discard anything because their hand was empty. And then you can play him later for exile 5 cards from your graveyard, which is like a hefty cost.
Yep.
But it's doable for sure, and he's an infinite kind of value engine once you've done that. And he works with World Gorger Dragon in black red, as many other cards have. And honestly, this is one of those things where it makes me wonder if this is just better than Zancha and Angie, who are also black red World Gorger Dragon decks.
Yeah, I think he might be. I think Anya has a little bit of an upswing because she has the ability to essentially have way fewer cards in the deck because of her ability to...
The whole madness thing, yeah.
Cycling madness makes you drop like 20 cards from your deck total and make it more consistent. But right. As a overall 6-mana 6/6, in order to keep it in play, but World Gorgering this is just infinite. If they didn't discard anything, they still take 3. And
right.
You just assemble World Gorger with it in play, and you win. It's great.
Yeah. It's a cool commander who will see play and who will have a deck that, while, you know, it's going to be similar levels as Zancha and Angie, or Anya. I don't know the actual
Anya.
Correct Anya. It's going to be similar power levels to them, where, you know, you kind of need it to be in a specific meta for it to really shine. But it's competitive level where it can fucking win games. It can pull it out. They're strong enough. They're not, you know, great. You know, you kind of lose some tools here and there as you kind of move down the tiers in our format, but it's still viable. You can play this deck and not just like feel bad about yourself. And if this is a deck that you like and a deck that you enjoy, this is just another flavor for you and another thing for you to try in the black-red World Gorger Dragon camp.
And if you one thing of note is you can do it on the same turn for a total of 5 mana if you use Necromancy. In response to its ETB sacrifice, you can Necromancy Gorger and then just loop all in one go.
Nice.
Yeah. That's the only one.
Awesome.
Otherwise, you do have to go through the escape loop with Kroxa, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, let's move on to Uro, who you don't have to go through the escape loop. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. 1 green, you, for a legendary creature, Elder Titan. He's a 6/6. Whenever Uro enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life, draw a card, and then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. And he's got escape, green, blue, exile 5 other cards from your graveyard.
So yeah, exactly the same text as the last one, other than the one colorless, and then the actual ability that the effect has when it does its stuff. This one, I mean, the gain 3 life, draw a card, put a land into play thing is pretty tight.
Yeah.
You get to just play this guy as a sorcery at some point. 1 green, blue, explore.
Yep.
Right? You just get to play him as an explorer in the command zone. And then he's just a value engine similar to a lot of the green and blue Simic commanders that we've gotten so far. And he's a pretty damn good one.
Yeah.
And he's a 6/6.
Yes. Ugh. He is. So having him in play, escaping him, is not necessarily a bad idea. Having a 6/6 in play is a really big threat, and it blocks pretty much everything.
Yeah.
It is really strong.
He's going to be a pretty good deck. I think Tishana is the deck that he's most gonna be most similar to, and I just kind of like him a little bit better than it. Overall, I like the effect. I like the way that it works.
So having him as a food chain commander lets you basically food chain out, get infinite creature mana, then cast Uro, and when you sacrifice it, just send it back to the command zone and recast it. And you get infinite Uro triggers, you draw your deck, you put all your lands into play. They're not tapped, so you actually get mana to cast spells, and from there you can Lab Maniac, Jace Wielder of Mysteries, or you could Thassa's Oracle and just win off of Lab Maniac, or you could do
anything
things.
like that. It gives you the fact that it gives you the lands actually makes it so that your backup lines, or you're like, oh no, somebody, I don't know, sadistic sacramented me, or some ridiculous scenario happens in some way. There's a rest in peace and somebody played 3 Wheel of Fortunes, right? Like, yeah, which is probably more realistic than sadistic sacrament on you. But it gets kind of any number of backup lines because you actually get untapped lands. You actually get kind of whatever you need.
Yeah, so. I've seen people brewing it with Scepter backup lines, just because it works with Simic. And you get infinite mana, and then you just Uro anyways, and you do the exact same thing. So
no, you just keep sending it to your command zone instead of ever sending it to your graveyard. You can just keep doing Uro things, and I think it's a cool deck. I'm gonna be excited to see it at some point.
Yeah, and then our last card is Aetherios Shroud Veiled. He's another god. He's 4 white and a black, legendary enchantment, a creature god. He's indestructible. He's a 4/7. As long as your devotion to white and black is less than 7, Aetherios isn't a creature. At the beginning of your end step, put a coin counter on another target creature. Whenever a creature with a coin counter on it dies or is put into exile, return that card to the battlefield under your control.
6 mana, obviously. It's quite a hefty fee to pay to get this guy. The first thing that kind of me and a lot of other people noticed is there does exist one card in the game that doesn't lose counters as it moves between different zones.
Yeah.
And that card is, of course, Skullbriar, the Walking Grave. Originally introduced in the Counterpunch Commander Precon, in the first Commander Precon.
Yeah.
I own one of those. And Yeah, so it's got, very, 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 very easy to do infinite combos with that. Food chain, Ashnod's altar, or anything like that. Any sack outlet in general, anything that says sacrifice a creature : just if Skullbriar's got the coin on him and Athreos is in play, do it as many times as you like.
Yeah.
But it's a like 8 mana combo that you have to wait a turn, and then Athreos costs 6 by himself, and Skullbriar's like not a particularly great card by himself, and neither of them can be played in each other's decks if either of them were the commander. And that's the real big sad.
That is the big sad. Yes. All in all, it's a fun card. I do like the shenanigans you can do if you happen to put a -1/-1 counter on Skullbriar when he has a coin.
Oh god, that just makes the game end, doesn't it?
Unless you have some sort of outlet, if you have a blood
unless you have some way to stop it, that makes the game end.
You're in an infinite loop of Skullbriar jumping in and out of the grave infinitely.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah, it's more of it's a joke, interesting scenario to deal into. But you can find interesting Hulk piles with a sack outlet and Academy Rector to get Athreos out because he's an enchantment. So you can do it. There are ways of doing it. A Hulk pile. Unfortunately, there's better Hulk piles. It's just funny. For interesting.
That's a really funny interaction. I like that. Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of.
So real quick, we skipped one card.
Oh, what did we skip?
Whirlwind Denial.
Oh yes, I missed that. Whirlwind Denial.
That's fine.
Yes, Whirlwind Denial. Let me pull that up.
So, 2 and a blue for an instant.
Yep.
For each spell and ability your opponents control, counter it unless its controller pays 4.
Yeah. So this is a 3-cost counter that essentially clears the stack.
It's more similar. A lot of people are saying it's a 3-mana Flusterstorm, which I think that it's more similar to a 3-mana Summary Dismissal. It hits abilities, which is pretty clutch. It makes them pay 4, which is pretty ridiculous and just out of pretty much any scope that anyone's going to be paying. Nobody has 4 extra mana. What? Yeah. Have you ever seen somebody pay for Mystic Remora other than in the late game? No, of course not.
And not when there's a counter war going on.
Yeah. And yeah, especially not when there's a counter war going on. Everybody's kind of usually tapping out the last of their last mana to make sure that whatever is about to happen doesn't happen. But it costs 3. Yeah. So it is something where I'm going to test it out a little bit, especially because I'm expecting to see some of this new Hulk pile, and I'm expecting to want things that can counter the Hulk trigger specifically, so that they actually lose the Flash and the Hulk, and they're both in their graveyard, and they both they need to do some fucking loops to jump through to actually get it all done. I've seen a lot of stacks where this is just gonna be useful. I've seen a lot of situations where if I had a Stifle, I could have done something different. Somebody cracks a fetch land and you're like, no, Stifle that. You don't get to counter my spell. Yeah. You don't get the mana. So it definitely has some pretty interesting applications and implications. But yeah, being 3 mana. So
the 3 mana is the hardest part, and I'm just trying to think about.
Yeah.
I like the fact that, yes, it's very close to a Summary Dismissal. It puts 4 mana. The idea is you are casting this last. This is the last spell that hits the stack, so you are waiting, and there's a good chance that everybody else has either tapped out or is out of counterspells.
And so what it kind of requires you to do in that situation is you have to say to everybody, I don't have any interaction here, guys. And you have to pass priority, and just pray that your other opponents have some kind of interaction, and that the other guy's just gonna do another thing, and that like the stack war is gonna keep building. And so you kind of have to like pass priority and cross your fingers like 3 or 4 times to really get maximum value on this card.
Yes.
In any way. One nice thing about it, we were talking about Baral earlier.
Yep.
Do you remember that Baral says whenever you counter a spell,
oh, you loot,
you get to loot? Right. So paying 1 and a blue for this card on a big ass stack war and then looting like 6 times.
That's great.
Is going to be a really good feeling. This is a card that Baral will be very happy to run.
And even decks that Baral
decks that run Baral in the 99 could consider it. Yeah. But 3 mana interaction is usually not where you want to be at in blue because it needs to be held up.
Yeah.
So
if you ever have seen people on Mizzix, which I have seen a few Mizzix people, they will love this card for sure.
Yeah.
And I think if you are in a meta that regularly sees a Helm of Awakening, you'll probably also want to see this card.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something to keep in mind. I'm not sure if it really slots into anything at all other than Baral immediately, but it does immediately slot into Baral.
Yes.
And, Baral's not in a great spot in the meta, but he's a deck.
He's a deck, yeah.
So, yeah, no, I just think it's a pretty cool card as well. Also, that flavor text. No, no, and no.
I hadn't actually read that. That's great.
It's great. It's
I
great.
Like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a cool deck.
Yeah, it is. I like
cool
that
card.
And now, officially, that does bring us to the end of our Theros Beyond Death review. Overall, I have pretty much liked the art from Theros. We had a good number of cards to talk about, and a lot of them are like just almost there. They are tools to keep adding into the mix, and hopefully we will be seeing more new and interesting cards that can make new decks in the future. We got a few new commanders. I don't know. What's your take on the set thus far?
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the flavor of Theros in general. I've always kind of loved the art and the just the way that they kind of make Greek myths and legends into kind of game mechanics for us is just something that I think is awesome. I really do wish that a couple of the cards were just a little bit tweaked, a little bit stronger. Obviously, I wish Thassa's Oracle just didn't have that last sentence.
Yep.
But I think that things like Underworld Breach and things like Omen of the Sea and things like Destiny Spinner are cards that show me that they are still willing to print very powerful effects. And I think that things like Nyx Bloom Ancient, and I think things like Helia Sun Crowned show me that they are still willing to kind of push the boundaries of like what things can be, either for mono white or like what is a mana reflection really, and I'm enjoying it overall. I think that if we can work through this little snag that Thassa's Oracle might bring to us, then this is a great set for us overall.
I definitely agree. Now, from a Vorthos perspective, there's been some weird things, but there is one really big upside from the story thus far that I have found.
Oh,
and that is that Ashiok, one of the best planeswalkers story-wise, for my opinion.
I love his stuff.
Has found Phyrexians in Elspeth's Nightmare and said, "Screw Theros, I'm finding Phyrexians now."
Ooh, okay.
Yes.
Oof. Yeah.
That's what I'm happy about. Possibly coming back to Phyrexia again and seeing the Phyrexian oil in action yet again.
Once again, yeah. I as someone who has followed the story very, very intensely and closely on like over the years, up until I guess a year and a half ago with the whole War of the Spark fiasco, where I liked it. It's sad. I generally like because I feel like the Magic story, if you're not actively reading it, is one of those things where you kind of hear what the major plot beats were, and you're like, that's kind of a dumb story. Mm-hmm. Whereas like back in the past, back when like Urza's saga was going on and the Weatherlight saga was going on, it was very much like you only heard the plot beats and you're like, this is a sick story, but then you're actually reading it and you're like, this reads like a history textbook.
Yeah.
And so I actually, as someone who was really diving deep into the story for a long time, I really loved all of that kind of, all of that kind of stuff, where it sounds really goofy when I try to explain it to somebody else, but like, trust me, it was awesome to read it. Mm-hmm. Where War of the Sparks kind of, brought it back to the old, like, story beats are cool, overarching story is cool, but the story is reading drier than, paper.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they get back to their roots a little bit, back to what made me kind of love it, because I do love where the direction of the story is going in a lot of ways. I do kind of love that we're not just doing the whole, like, super friends going from place to place and fighting bad guys.
The Gatewatch!
Where, like, the Gatewatch is so funny. They failed, like, 3 times immensely, and then they broke up. And that's their whole story.
Yeah.
Ugin told them, like, all right, guys, be real careful. Don't, like, kill these fucking Eldrazi things. We have no idea what purpose the multiverse has for them and how their deaths will affect Dominia as a whole. And they're like, sorry, what'd you say? We already killed 2 of them.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, the Gatewatches, they were the poster childs, but they were very dysfunctional. And I kind of like, I've not been following like very closely on the story. I like the higher bits, and I like the little, like, the fact that one really interesting character is going to go find other interesting things. I like those possibilities more than reading the whole story.
And hey, if Ashiok ends up going to New Phyrexia, Old Mirrodin, who else do we know in current storylines who is trying to go to Old Mirrodin? Karn.
Yeah, Karn is heading. And is wanting to go back.
And what does Karn have on his person right now? A bomb, a really big bomb. Oh. So, yeah, he's got the Silex. We're gonna see what happens with that too. I'm excited to go back to Phyrexia if we can go there soon.
Yeah. No, the future of Magic is looking good. The power creep on some of this in Theros Beyond Death is a little concerning, but I'm hopeful. And I'm happy we're getting new cards.
Yeah, me too.
And
all right, this was great.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you all for joining us on our Theros Beyond Death set review. And we will see you guys next time.
If you have any cards that you wish we had talked about, leave them in the comments.
Yeah. Goodbye.